my name is Joan. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. August marks the end of summer, so I just wanted to go ahead and share what I watched this month. I watched a whole bunch of new content and a little bit of old stuff, and honestly I think just the month of August represents school so much and I'm not going back. But like many others, I was definitely on Alabama Rush Talk, and I think it's really interesting to see all these kids start their college career or end their college career. It's just very interesting to reflect on. Very interesting. Before I continue, I just wanted to say, if you like the content of this video, please give this video a like and hit the subscribe button where I post videos like this weekly. Alright, I have many thoughts, so let's get started. Alright, so I started the month with season 2 of Why Women Kill. If you don't know what Why Women Kill is, it is a dark comedy drama anthology show that covers deaths caused by women. Now, this season is probably a little bit better than season 1, and the writing is funny and cheeky as hell. Like, I can't really explain the comedy. It's just a lot of like a little bit of slapstick, a little bit of like old school, and a lot of double entendres, a lot of irony played really well. And I'm a huge fan of it. It has me chuckling every single episode, dying out loud, and the situations that these characters are being put into is quite interesting and very entertaining. Alma Philcott is the main character slash villain of season 2, and I think she does a really good job of balancing. She goes from someone who is pushed over to one that does the pushing, and honestly I think it was very interesting. If you're someone who really likes villain stories, I think Alma is a really good one to watch. So much is that I made my own video about it. So I definitely will plug that. I did a video, a part of the One Villain Is Seen series made by Nando V Movies, so please check that out. And honestly, I can't explain this show enough. Like, please, if you have Paramount Plus, do yourself a favor and give it a watch. Alright, next up is Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I decided to watch this on a random Saturday night with my boyfriend because I was in the mood to watch a movie, but I just didn't know what. And I know I have definitely slandered Tyler Perry a little bit on my channel. I've done like 2 different videos on him. And honestly, this is just one of the first movies that I ever watched by him, and I truly hold it very close to my heart. I actually watched this movie right after my dad passed, and it kind of reminded me of him in a way, and I don't know really why, but it was just one of those comfort movies that I had. I think it's still funny. It's actually, I think, the only movie that Tyler Perry has actually written but not directed. And honestly, I think it works better that way. I mean, Medea as a character isn't like too flashy, too over the top in this one. And you know, it talks about forgiveness and the aspect of self-love on top of loving someone else. I really enjoy it. It's a really good time. The lines are just unforgettable. Alright, the next movie that I watched is Plan B. Plan B is a comedy drama film about 2 girls that travel to get a Plan B pill. Now, this movie was a surprise hit for me. Like, I had a fun time watching it. I watched it with my boyfriend, and I think it is a good sister film to Unpregnant, which is basically the same plot, except that it's not 2 best friends, it's 2 ex-best friends, and instead of getting a Plan B pill, it's to get an abortion. And I think it's very interesting, and it tackles different issues when it comes to reproductive rights when it comes to girls, and it also deals with the friendship between Lupe and Sunny. Now, Lupe is the rebellious type of teenager, while Sunny is the very straight A, perfect type of person. And I think their dynamic is very much explained really nicely, because Lupe is having trouble not only coming out to Sunny, but having to be Sunny's support without Sunny even considering what Lupe is going through in her life. So I think it's a really good road trip type of movie to explain that and explore that. And the comedy is very funny. The comedy is kind of on the level of Booksmart. It's like a lot of stupid humor, but I like stupid humor if it's done right. And in my opinion, it's done right. Now, I do think it's probably done right 80% of the time, but I think there's some crazy shit that Lupe and Sunny have to go through, you know, dealing with a coked up rock star dealing with, you know, two creepy guys and dealing with a whole bunch of different shit that teenagers are going through. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a fun watch. I think people should give it a chance. Next up is The Suicide Squad. Now, I wanted to watch this in theaters, but I did not have the extra money to shell out. So I watched it on HBO Max, and holy shit, I was with it from minute one. This movie is what Suicide Squad should have been. Like, this movie is so great. And I think what's really interesting is that, like, it reminded me a lot of the CW's Legends of Tomorrow on terms of ridiculousness, because this shit literally was crazy, like ridiculous, like stupid, like levels of that, like so dumb and crazy, and it's like blown out to proportion, and you're just like, wow, like they paid a full length budget for this. And yeah, I enjoyed every single second of it. Idris Elba was killing it. John Cena surprisingly gave a really great performance. I was sold on him. Again, Margot Robbie killing it as Harley. But yeah, like this movie was great. The comedy was amazing. A lot of goriness, you know, to go with a Suicide Squad type of movie. And I liked how it didn't shy away from that. Like very gory, very disgusting, very get your hands dirty. And I really liked it. I think James Gunn did a really good job of bringing the found family aspect from Guardians to the Suicide Squad, because it definitely has that vibe and it's done really well. Next up is The White Lotus, which in my opinion is probably the most disappointing season of August. Now, The White Lotus is a dark comedy anthology series about a group of travelers that come to the White Lotus Resort, and it just basically follows their life at the resort. Now, this was just so disappointing. I think what was disappointing is that it's about a whole bunch of white people, so I think that's why I didn't really care. Or like the way that the season was set up is that they were trying to examine their white privilege, and basically there's three different families. There's the Mossbachers, which is a CEO and her husband, and there are two kids, and then one of their friends' friend, and then there was this newlywed couple that I don't remember their names, and then there was Jennifer Coolidge, who was a widow essentially, and then there's Armand, who is the manager, and then there's see, their characters are not even that memorable, except Kelly from Insecure. I loved her. But basically, the whole thing is that when it comes to the Mossbacher family, Sydney Sweeney, the daughter, and her best friend Paula, I just can't remember her name, but we're gonna call her Sydney and Paula. Basically, Sydney gives off this Gen Z vibe that like, she is fully aware of her white privilege, and she like knows that her parents, like, it's like she's better than her parents. Like her parents are just like, I just don't understand, like a white man has it really hard these days and blah, blah, blah. And Paula's just like, okay. I think it just goes to show that like, yes, Sydney Sweeney's character is supposed to be like this Gen Z power, whatever, but it still doesn't change the fact that she is still benefiting from white privilege. And I think that's something that Paula finds to come to the conclusion about through her relation with Kai, who works for the resort. Now, Kai's character they botched completely, because not only was he the second and only major Hawaiian character that was even in this show, his character was supposed to be this one that basically the people that have the resort, own the resort, bought out his family land and like made them give them to him, and then he ended up working for them. And I'm like, that fucking sucks. And that just goes with a lot of colonization, gentrification, and Paula's solution was to steal from the family she's staying with. That does not make any sense. And then on top of that, when he decides to actually go through with it, it only serves as a point of Mark and Nicole's conflict in their marriage and how it basically gets them back together. Like, no. Armand was a drug addict manager who was clean, and then the stress of the newlywed couple, primarily the husband who was a control freak, made him literally go back to drugs. And then Jennifer Coolidge's character is like a character that means well, and she was like so in love with Natasha's character, who was a masseuse, and she's like, yeah, you can open your clinic and I'll fund it and everything, just for her not to do any of that, and was like, yeah, we'll talk about it, and then never does. Got her hopes up for nothing. The White Lotus, like, the trailer was cut really well. I was very interested. But when the show came out, like, there were 6 episodes, and it took me to get to the 4th episode to really get into it, just for me to be disappointed by the finale. And it's just like, how can you succumb to the one thing that you're trying to talk about? Like, you shoot in Hawaii, which is already bad during COVID, and then you barely have any people of color in your cast and in your crew and in the writing staff. Like, come on. And the craziest thing is that the discourse on TikTok about it is that a whole bunch of white people loved it. They loved it. And all the people of color are like, no, this show is not what you think it is. And it was just disappointing. Very disappointing. All right, and I ended the month with season 1 of Wife Swap. Wife Swap recently dropped on Hulu and it's been everywhere on my For You page, and I'm just like, oh my God, these families are freaking nuts. So I had to watch, naturally. And let me tell you, these families, let me just shout out to the producers. Well, for one, the producers are low-key problematic for putting these opposite families. And it's literally opposite, like the opposite together. And it's just like, how do they find these people? I'm not gonna lie though, there was one episode where it was the same family, different font. That's all I'm saying. I think it's very interesting because like a lot of these families are very, very, very toxic. Like, I think with the 2021 lens of Wife Swap from the mid 2000s, all of these families that they picked in some aspect and some turn, they have very toxic energies. Like, very like, the kid only needs to be seen, not heard. Like, you know, I'll let my kids do anything and literally disrespect people. And it's like, well, it's my way, the highway. Like, I don't really care. And it just goes to show that like having children really is a selfish thing. Like, a very selfish act. Like, there is no way you can think of having children and be like, I'm gonna bring these people into the world and think that they're just gonna be around me all the time. Because some of these families literally isolate their children. And it's just like, how do you think that's okay? These are children. And then on top of that, one of the families, like, is a whole murder. Like, one of the kids murdered his mom and his younger brother, like 3 years ago. It's a whole thing. And it's interesting because it's like, watching it now, it's like a train wreck I can't turn away from. Because it's like entertaining, but at the same time, it's sad through a new lens, an older lens. Like, because I remember watching this as a kid all the time, but I'm 23, about to turn 24. Like, my lens is very different. My eyes are very different. And I hope everyone seeked out therapy because after that, oh my God. And you can tell that some things were good. I just need a 2021 update. I need an update. Get a reunion show, get something going. I need to know because, man, these families were going through it. All right, and that is what I watched this month. I really wanted to do this type of video again because I love film video lists, like list videos, and definitely inspired by my boy Carson Brunquist. I remember subscribing to this guy when I was a freshman in college, like when he was in school. Like, I love this man. So if you're a film fanatic just like me and love my reviews and you like to hear what I have to say, I have a whole playlist of all my film reviews and another video just like this. I had such a fun time filming this, and I'm really glad you guys like it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.